Good evening. Good evening. Thank you to everyone that is tuning in now or that will tune in later. And so I wanted to do a quick video. I know the other day I did the DIY self-publishing. And so if you did not see that video, I would admonish that you go back and start there. I did put the link to the video in the comments. It's on my channel. It's DIY self-publishing. I talk about a lot of the, excuse me, the options that authors have so that they don't get ripped off. So many people get ripped off by vanity publishers, and it's really kind of getting scary out here. The type of money that people are losing, and then they'll come to somebody like me and say, hey, can you make this all go away for free? And so I want you to take a moment to watch that video. I did talk about a few things that you're able to do. I didn't go into the full ins and outs of it. But yeah, so check that out. But today I want to talk about 5 tips for writing a book. Over the years, I've had so many people come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, how do I write a book? What do I need to do to write a book? I'm started. I don't know how to finish, that kind of thing. And so my specialty when it comes to writing books is nonfiction. I'm not a fiction writer. So like characters and developing characters and introducing characters and all that stuff, that is not my wheelhouse. Like I used to write plays, so I can do it, but it's not something I'm comfortable with in book form. And so, obviously writing plays and writing books are different. But because there's characters and there's character development, there are some similarities, but not enough for me to feel comfortable. And so I talk more about the general overview of writing a book, and I specialize in those that write nonfiction books. And so, tip number 1 for writing a book, you first of all, you don't need a title right away. I have seen people get so stuck on the title that they don't even work on the book. You gotta so that get that out of your head. You can leave the title blank. You can come up with a title later. You do not have to be worried if you're about to start writing your book, or even if you already started and you don't have a title. That is something that you can develop later. That's something you can get clarified later on, because I have, and I know other people have, they have had a working title where it's like, hey, this is the title of the book. And you get done and be like, that is not the title of the book. No, that's terrible. And so sometimes you'll find that the title comes, maybe towards the end or even after you finish up writing it. Like I said, you can do a working title. You can even come up with a couple of ideas and just put them to the side until you're at a position where it's like, hey, I got to make a decision on this title for this book. So don't worry about that right away. The next tip is to be organized. Be organized. I cannot tell you how many times people have come to me saying, I need to get my book done. I'm like, great. How can I help you? And part of the book is written in a notebook. Part is written on a back of an envelope to a bill collector. Part of it is in their phone. Part of it is in their email. Now, keep in mind, in those worst case scenarios, I can still pull that together. However, if you're going to do like that and be that sporadic, you need to know where the content belongs. What do I mean by that? So when I take the part from the email and the part from the phone and the part from the notebook, you can say, okay, this is my introduction. This is chapter 1. This is chapter 2, or something like that. But if you don't know where the content goes and you just like, I'm just got all these ideas and I'm just putting them down, it's going to be harder to put it together. So I suggest being organized and creating an outline. And so by outline, again, titles can change, chapters can change. Try to kind of have an idea, even a loose idea of your titles, so that you know what content goes where. So if you are writing a book on red shoes and one of your chapters is the history of red shoes, if you're talking about red dye, that may be something that may go in the chapter on history of shoes, or maybe you're doing a chapter on red dye and red shoes. Who knows? But you should know where things flow and where they go. If that kind of makes sense. So if you're working on a book on red shoes and you wrote a whole chapter on blue shoes, Does that fit with this book, or is that possibly an idea for another book? So those are the kind of things you have to think about. So when you're just like putting content everywhere, like sporadically, and you don't, because book writing, I know it can be very sporadic, because like sometimes I can be out and an idea will come to me like, okay, you know what, you need to research this, look this up. And so I may put something in my notes, but I try to keep it organized so I know what I'm talking about, because if not, being sporadic can turn chaotic, and you don't want it to turn chaotic, because that can make it harder for you to pull it together as a book. That can make it harder to get it to flow. And, then we talk about editing and all that stuff. And it just, yeah, it's a lot. So you want to try to make things easier on yourself by being organized. Creating an outline, even if it's a loose outline, doesn't matter if it changes, but it can help you. So as some of those ideas and things are coming to you, where they would fit. So if you're taking your book from a notebook over here, a journal over here, and off your phone, where to start typing stuff like, okay, you know what? I don't know if the title is of chapter 3 is going to stay blue lip gloss, but this part right here belongs in that chapter, even if I have to change the title a little bit. So creating an outline, a working outline, can help you. This is why in elementary school, a lot of times when you were writing papers, and in middle school, they suggested that you create an outline. It helps you stay organized. It helps you to organize your thoughts. And even as some of those thoughts develop, it helps you know where to put the content that belongs with those specific thoughts, so that stuff is not just everywhere and it doesn't turn into a word salad or like alphabet soup. Let me see. So yeah, it's important to recognize when you begin writing, if you are dealing with multiple ideas, and if you possibly have more than one book kind of coming together at the same time, because I always suggest to people that you should consider focusing on one idea or topic and follow through with that first. Because a lot of people I've seen are like, I'm writing more than one book at once. And I'm like, how? Like, I get it, like, but it would probably, especially when people come to me and say like they're stuck, or they're struggling to get a book done. So I'm not talking about people. If you know what you're doing and you're a beast and you can write 8 books at a time, more power to you. But to those that are like, I'm struggling, I don't know how to finish, I'm struggling to get done, I would suggest focusing on one idea, one book, one topic at a time. And so obviously, like I said, those that are like, hey, I got this, if you know what you're doing and you've been doing this for years, and you're a New York Times bestseller, have at it. But for those that are like, I'm stuck, I would suggest focusing on one thing at a time. Another thing is to take a break. I don't think sometimes people recognize how powerful breaks and how powerful rest can be. Sometimes, when people are writing books, they get burnt out. They get burnt out very easily. They get tired. And sometimes when you're just annoyed with writing, that you just can't do it. I can't think. I don't, nothing is flowing. Sometimes you literally need to take some time away from your project that you're working on, your book or whatever it is you're writing. Take a break and rest. Do something you enjoy. Do a hobby. Take a nap. Go out to eat. Go whatever it is you need to do to kind of recuperate and reset. And you may have to. I have gotten so tired with some books to where I literally would, maybe some weeks, like, I don't even want to see this. I don't want to read it. I don't want to touch it. I need a break. I'm done. And it's like that sometimes. So where when you come back, you're refreshed, you're excited about it again. You want to be excited about what you're doing, because you want to be excited about what you're writing, because you want to be people too excited to read what you wrote about, right? So yeah, so sometimes you have to take that break and kind of refresh and all that stuff. Another tip is to create realistic timelines. I've worked with a lot of authors over the years, and their timelines can be kind of unrealistic. Like, okay, I'm going to publish my book in 2 months. I'm like, you can do that? It probably won't land well. It probably won't be the best quality. it might not even, sell well. And so, you want to have realistic timelines so you have enough time to work on the quality of your book, as far as like, even editing by itself can take a couple months. So trying to publish a book like in 2 months is like going to be pretty tough, unless you're just cutting a lot of corners and just saying, who cares? I'm going to get this done, my way. But if you're trying to put out a quality book, it's going to take time, especially you have to, I usually, depending on how busy an editor is, it can be months. And depending on how long your book is, it can, the process can be months as well. And so you always want to make sure that you leave adequate time for having your book properly edited and proofread and all those things. You want to make sure you go through those steps. And I think because I'm working on a book now, and I think I will begin to show some behind the scenes type things so people can kind of see like how it works, what the process looks like, things like that. And so yeah, so I always suggest well, I'll get out of that. So yeah, so take a break, create realistic timelines, make sure there's enough time not just for editing, but also to get reviews, to set up a marketing plan, all those things, depending on how involved you plan on being with your book, and depending on the type of results that you desire from releasing your book, you're going to want to take your time and put some effort into some things and not try to speed and breeze through it. Research your topic. For those that are doing nonfiction books, there may be some research involved, depending on what your book topic is, because nonfiction can also mean you're writing your memoir or your autobiography. And if you're writing a book about yourself, I wouldn't think that you would have to sit on Google trying to find out information about you. And so, but if you're talking about a topic like what are tropical like tropical turtles, and what environment do they live in, how do they thrive, like if you're doing something like that, then you're going to have to do research to get some accurate information to go with your writing. A couple of other tips: if you really are struggling with writing, try voice to text. If you know that the ideas are in here and you're just struggling to get them out, try using voice to text to speak it out. That helps some people. Obviously, that can get a little more tedious when it comes to editing, because voice to text, well, at least for me, voice to text tends to not spell the words correctly. Well, voice to text tends to not get the words right. And I know sometimes that can be hard to understand. So it comes with the territory. But voice to text is an option for those that are struggling with writing. Also, getting a ghostwriter. If you're like, I've tried, I'm doing everything I can. If you're just fed up and you're like, I got to get this book done, but I don't want to be the one to write it, or I don't have time, or I just, can't get this done, you may want to consider hiring a ghostwriter. Now, I know some professional ghostwriters that are professional and reliable, and they have been doing this for years. And they are going to start you at $20,000 to $22,000 minimum. That's just getting started. That's not your total cost. However, if you're like, I need a ghostwriter, but I'm on a budget, you can look into Fiverr. I always suggest Fiverr, because Fiverr a lot of times has a lot of people that are very reliable, and they offer many of the services a lot more for a much higher price off of Fiverr. And so I suggest Fiverr if you know that you need a ghostwriter, but you're like, hey, I don't have tens of thousands of dollars to pay someone to write my book. Then you can go to Fiverr and pay several $100s to have someone write it instead, and that may make it a lot easier for you, and it may be also a more affordable. And so I do have the link for Fiverr. It is in the video description. You can go to the video description and click the link that says Fiverr services for book publishing. Click that link. And so you can also find people to do your book covers. You can find people to do your editing on Fiverr. You can find people to do pretty much a lot of the things that you need done for book publishing. You can find someone to do it on Fiverr. And so, yeah, so just wanted to share those 5 tips. And so hopefully this helps someone, because I have a lot of people that are, asking a lot of questions and stuff about writing. And so I take things I have a very simple approach. I try not to overcomplicate things or put things in a way that it keeps people frustrated. So hopefully those made sense and hopefully they helped you. So happy writing, and in a couple days, happy New Year. All right, God bless.